What's going on, guys? It's Eric again, back with another video. I hope this microphone that I'm using here is kind of coming through here. If it's not, go ahead and put in the chat, or I'll put the comments open and let me know if it's kind of working or not. But kind of wanted to talk about the Texas and Oklahoma starting the process through the SEC, or to get into the SEC and kind of break away from the Big 12. Kind of wanted to give my thoughts on here. It's 8 after 7 in the morning here. I did have a video kind of coming up here, but I reviewed it and I was like, it wasn't really all that great. So I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it right now. Because of today, I looked here on the computer and I seen that they had started to formally put in their, I guess, kind of put a formal invitation to the SEC to be included in here, whatever that is. I don't think it's an invitation. Invitation would be the SEC to them, but a formal application, as I'm guessing, is probably really what it is. So, hey, what's going on, Alan for Electric Beard? What you restart for? And Erie says, morning. Well, Alan, I'll admit, I didn't realize that, I didn't know if the camera was working. Number one, I had to kind of fiddle with that. And number two, I had to fiddle with with this microphone here, trying to get that to work. So that's kind of why I kind of started to record, and I put it off and I went ahead and restarted the video here. But anyway, thanks for Erie and Eclectic Beard. I said electric, but it's Eclectic Beard Gaming for coming on here. I kind of want to talk about the Texas and Oklahoma and kind of my thoughts on here. So they put their formal application in, and the SEC's kind of said, we really weren't, kind of seeking out new members, but since Oklahoma and Texas kind of came along, we'll kind of go ahead and start that kind of formal process. But I didn't quite get that from the press release that's kind of what they were getting at. And to kind of back up a couple of days here real quick, and I'll get to your hey, Drunk, what's going on? And I'll get to your comment here in a minute, Eclectic. Kind of going back a couple of days ago, or probably this has been probably weeks. I'm just kind of coming upon it just right now because I've seen it come up here on ESPN. Was, I guess, Oklahoma and Texas were kind of talking. I don't know, necessarily saying talking to each other, but they were probably saying, hey, we should probably really go to the SECs. Now, I don't know what happened to the Big 12, if they weren't happy with it, if they were trying to get more money from the Big 12, kind of whatever the case may be here for this. They're kind of breaking away from the Big 12. And I'm wondering what kind of, not only what kind of logistics is kind of going to come on here, because you got teams traveling farther distances and kind of staying in their own region. Excuse me when I bump this microphone here. When they're staying with their own region, which would only be a couple hundred miles, now you're starting to get hundreds and hundreds of miles away. You're kind of going from Florida and you're kind of going all the way over here to Texas. Like, they don't already do that before because Texas A&M is in the SEC, but now you're having Oklahoma and Texas in Austin, Texas, kind of in this in the SEC. That's if that kind of comes to fruition, well, the SEC is going to accept those two, which based on early indications, that looks like what it's going to be here. Yeah, but I'm kind of wondering, because it's a lot of money now to travel here, and usually schools are trying to get their travel costs down, because you guys know it's all this almighty dollar that kind of drives this sort of thing. They want to get the most bang for their buck and trying to reap in as much money as they can. Now they're starting to, well, now we got to travel to here, or now we got to travel over to here, or if they get Cincinnati, well, now we got to go up to Cincinnati. Now, I'm not saying Cincinnati's even a part of the SEC. I'm just kind of saying if they make this big mega conference, which I'll get into here in just a minute, if they get into these big, humongous mega conferences, now we got to go to Cincinnati. Now we may have to go to Utah, or we might have to go over here to Boston to play. The logistics of it and the money aspect of it is going to turn around and I think it may bite these teams in the butt. And with that being said, and I live in Big Ten country, we have Nebraska, which is way out here in the middle of the country. And then you have Rutgers and Maryland way over here on the East Coast. That's a big chunk of you just can't take a bus over there like most teams can to kind of go to the next city to play someone. You have to get a plane. You have to, whatever has to go through to get that team out there. A big plane, like maybe like a Delta or an American Airlines or kind of anything like that. That's a big chunk of money to kind of go out there, to go from Lincoln, Nebraska, all the way to somewhere in New Jersey, which I can't remember where exactly Rutgers is at, but on the East Coast, and kind of fly them back. So that's a round trip. You know, it takes a lot of money to kind of do all that. And then kind of getting into this whole thing. I know I'm kind of jumbling around here, but I'm trying to get all my thoughts and out here. But you have this. I've been hearing on ESPN, they were talking about possibly having this NFL type of conferences where you were, or even just being the NCAA itself, where you have these humongous conferences, 32 teams or something like that. And you would have, I'm guessing you would have the Midwest, you would have the South, you would have the West, these humongous conferences out here. All in the sake of the almighty dollar. And that kind of just blows my mind here. But kind of getting back to this Texas and Oklahoma stuff, who's to say at the 11th hour that Texas and Oklahoma aren't just going to be like, or Texas and Oklahoma, excuse me, the SEC is going to be like, well, something's gone on here and we kind of really don't like it, so we're not going to include you in here in the SEC. Well, all right. Now what do? Do they go back to the Big 12? Do they go, well, we're going to be independent until we can find a conference that wants us? Or does the Pac-12 kind of consume them in, which used to be the Pac-10? Do they consume them? And really kind of what happens to the Big 12 if the SEC or Oklahoma and Texas kind of go off along their ways? Do they kind of dissolve? Are they kind of sitting here trying to be relevant and they're sitting here trying to be this mid-majors type of thing? I probably think they're going to dissolve, but I really don't know how this all plays out. It's kind of really too early to tell what's going to happen here, but my biggest thing here is logistics. That's the thing. If you're going to have these huge mega conferences where the teams are going to be spread out all over the country, you're going to have possibly, and this is just something, I'm just putting this out here, you could have possibly a conference to where Washington and Rutgers could be in the same conference and you have to travel all the way across the country to play. That's a huge money grab right there for the airlines, the transportation industry, all that kind of sort of stuff. It's just gonna. I think it'll go here for a little bit, and then they're gonna kind of realize, man, why are we spending this whole bunch of money in travel time and logistics to all this kind of sort of stuff? And I think you might see them kind of collapse back down to kind of where we're at. But you never know how this almighty dollar is going to kind of play out here either, guys. That's the big driver to everything. But I'm going to get to the comments now here. And Eclectic says, the Sooners and the Horns go to the SEC to look for the Big 12 to possibly dissolve, which I think that will happen, Alan, possibly dissolve and the NCAA to be non-existent. Oh, wow. That's an interesting take you got there. You would see the teams like the West Virginia go to the ACC and Iowa State to the Big 10. Alan, I really don't see Iowa State kind of going to the Big 10. I guess that really could happen, but I think they've kind of want to be in. Goodness, I can't remember. Are they in the SEC? Is Iowa State in the SEC or are they in the Big 12? I can't remember if they are or not, but I think Iowa State kind of likes where they're at right now unless they absolutely have to move. You have an interesting scenario there. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on maybe you might even put out a video on it where you have the NCAA to be non-existent anymore. I would really like to know kind of your thoughts on that. I really had never even played that scenario out and kind of what's going on with that. Or he says maybe a reforming of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That could be too. I remember those guys. I also think it's due to talk about moving to a 12-team playoff. I know they're going to are they going to an 8-team playoff? I do know that. I think they are going to an 8-team playoff. But Alan, I kind of would like to expand on that and say, while we're kind of talking about all this restructuring of the conferences and all that, what's the problem with doing like the Division II and the Division III football schedules where you have a true playoff schedule? And I'm not saying you could put, 120 schools in the Division I. I'm just throwing that number out there. I don't know. I haven't looked that information up on here, but why can't you have a playoff system like that? Why can't you go when the conferences are done and you put all the teams, or you could say we're going to do it at 6-6, whatever you want to play out here. You could have your 6-6 teams and say, if you're a 500 club, you get to go into this playoff and you get do the seedings and all that, which would probably be right around 70 or 60 teams. Let's kind of break it down to half. You would have 60 teams, and you would have 60 teams to kind of play up until the national championship would be. Right now, seems to be in the middle of January right now. And you guys know that the NCAA is always like, we're for the students. We got to have time for their exams. And you guys know that's a bunch of horse malarkey. That's not how it is. You could do 6 weeks or however long it would take, 6 or 7 weeks to get to an NCAA Division I national champion through going through 60 teams, and just do it how you do like the NCAA tournament. Just that exact format. Now, not that exact format where you play 2 games kind of going on there, but you could do it, break it down into 5 or 6 weeks, and you could have an NCAA national champion going through a playoff system. I think you could do it, but you have an interesting take there, Alan. And he also says Iowa State is in the Big 12. I could see them and Oklahoma State going to the Big 10. Nebraska was Big 12, and so was Iowa State, and Oklahoma State makes sense to the Big 10. Okay. I think there's needs to be a 2014 playoff at the end of the year. Do away with the bowl scenario. Yeah, I've always said the bowl scenarios they're kind of ancient times right now. They don't, with how this is evolving, all that, I don't think the bowl structure is really really relevant now. But Alan, they're going to kick and scream and try to be relevant for as long as they can until someone just says, we're done. We're done. The bowl system are the ones bucking more against the bigger playoff system, which they are, excuse me. And the bowls are looking at losing money if they go to expanded playoffs. Yes, I will admit that. Yes, they are looking to lose money if they do this expanded playoff system, which I really got to kind of get up on my times on here, Alan, or how my sports kind of, I don't want to say sports journalism or anything like that, but just do the research on how all this is going to play out. I'm sure someone's written an article on this sort of stuff, how they think this is going to play out, which I'll go ahead and I'll do that. I'll probably do another video on here, but I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on all this sort of stuff. My big thing is the logistics. I know it's not just only, just Texas and Oklahoma kind of doing this. I think if you see them going to the SEC and getting accepted, I think it's a 2024-2025 season, kind of right around there is when all this is going to kind of come to fruition. You may see more teams kind of reach out. And you're probably right. You could see Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and I think there was one other one you had here. Iowa State, and there's Oklahoma State. I don't know. Does Colorado come to the Big Ten? The Colorado Buffaloes and Colorado State come to the Big Ten to be that big mega conference? I don't know. Or do they bring in Cincinnati from the ACC? I don't know how this all plays out. Cincinnati kind of seems to be a good fit because they're right there close to Columbus and Ohio State, but you guys don't know how all this is going to play out. I would like to see how this. I would like to really see how when Oklahoma and Texas get accepted to the SEC. That's if they get accepted to the SEC. SEC is kind of playing the, hey, we're not really kind of looking, but we'll kind of see how you guys fit in here kind of thing based on the article that I read. And I think they're just kind of taking the step back approach. We kind of really don't kind of want to be involved in all this stuff yet. I think they're kind of taking that kind of stuff because they don't want to step on the Big 12's toes just yet. But I'd like to see how this all plays out. I hope you don't get into these super big mega conferences I guess I'm kind of looking at it as an old school kind of thing here too, where you just have your regions and all that, and then you kind of go into a playoff system, which I really think that's how it really should be. You shouldn't. I don't know, guys. I got to have an old school mentality. Let me put it that way. But it's getting on 20 after 7 here right now. I got to get ready. As you guys can see, I still got to shave yet. I don't know if the camera's picking it up here all that great. I still got to shave. I still got to, brush my teeth and stuff. I got finishing my first cup of coffee, which I haven't taken a drink of here when this video came on. I'm getting to this one last comment here that I'm going to kind of break off. Eclectic says, I think Oklahoma and Texas is the beginning of a paradigm shift. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm probably not. I can see at least 2 more teams asking for invites to the SEC, and then we'll see ACC teams asking for invitations to the ACC. So on and so forth for teams and other conferences. Yeah, I think you'll see that too here, Alan. I want to kind of see how this plays out. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to still try to comment on this as we kind of go along here, just to kind of see how this all plays out. Now, you really haven't heard anything from the Pac-12 or anything like that. They're probably keeping a close eye on this too, and see how this all plays out. But I think you're probably going to have some big, huge mega conferences here, which I know I'm kind of old school guys here, but I really hope this I really hope these conferences really don't get too big and logistics kind of come into play, money, all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. You guys know how it all is kind of goes along here. But, guys, I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump off here, get ready to go to work. I'm actually back in the office today, but with this Delta variant stuff and the CDC's recommendations kind of coming back out here, we might be coming back to work from home here. But I'm kind of knocking on wood that doesn't happen. So I guess it is kind of what it is. But let me know what you guys think kind of down in the comments here. I'm going to leave them open. If you're kind of going into this video, we're already past 15 minutes here. I kind of see on this live kind of second tracker here. We're past 15 minutes. I would really like to know your guys' thoughts, your guys' concerns, or how this kind of all plays out. Maybe Iowa State and all those, maybe Colorado State and Colorado come to the Big Ten. I really don't know how this is all going to play out, but I think when that domino falls with Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, how all that plays out, how, you know, all that stuff goes, I think Eclectic's right. You're going to see kind of more and more and more teams try to get more members in. But, guys, I'm going to get ready to go to work here. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Deuces. Take care, guys.